What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we got the Oscars. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to predict some of the major categories here, and I know they're coming out March of next year, but hey, we have had great movies, and it is time to start predicting what we all think the nominations are going to be at this year's Academy Awards, all right? So, we've had great movies. Let's dive on in and see which ones I think are going to be nominated. I would love to jump right into the Oscars, but unfortunately I can't really do that because I want to acknowledge Hollywood is still a chaotic mess. The WGA and SAG are both still on strike. I support the unions 100%. They are just asking for livable wages, protections against AI, and fair residual payments as well, among a many other list of things. I'm going to be covering that in a video next week with one of my friends, CJ. We're going to be talking on a podcast, guys, about the strike, but also about other topics in the entertainment industry as well. But we are going to be focusing on the strike as well. So please stick around and be on the lookout for that when it drops sometime next week. All right, if you are brand new here, my name's Tyson. I talk about movies all the time on this channel, and I review a lot of the Oscar stuff. I make a lot of predictions. I did last season. So if any of that stuff, like Oscars or movie reviews, trailer reactions, covering movie news, I do it all here on the channel. So please check us out and subscribe. We're on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and I would love to have you guys along for that journey. But let's get on into the Oscars. That's why you clicked on this video. It's going to be great. Let's take a look at the big one, Best Picture. All right, so you can see here, I have Oppenheimer. Wow. I have Oppenheimer as number one. All right, I do think that overtook Killers of the Flower Moon for me, which I think those two are pretty much neck and neck. You can see Flower Moon is by Apple TV Plus, and then Universal is Oppenheimer. Killers is Scorsese. We haven't seen it yet. It comes out in October. It has Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, and a huge supporting cast. Jesse Plemons, Brendan Fraser's in it a little bit. Last year's Best Actor winner. I think this film is going to be phenomenal. From the trailers, it just looks great. And, this is a huge Oscar movie, I do believe. It's Scorsese behind it, but we just had Oppenheimer. We saw how big of an effect that had on the industry as a whole, all right? Christopher Nolan is getting beloved by it. The cast is brilliant in the story. The movie itself is a huge masterpiece. It really is. That's why I think it has the lead right now as number one, and that's why I think Killers is right behind it, though, at number two. Past Lives by A24. I've been hearing a lot of great things about this movie, and I really do want to see it. A lot of the times, the Oscars, they have a little bit of an indie film on their list, and I think this one is it for this season. And from all accounts I've heard of it, I can't wait to see it myself. Hopefully I can see it as soon as possible. But yeah, I think this one has the best shot of doing pretty well at the Oscars for A24. Coming at fourth, I have Dune Part 2, if it gets released this year, and I hope Warner Brothers keeps that release date. That would be great. I think Dune 1 is great, and Dune Part 2 looks even better, and I think people are going to love that story even more than the first one, actually. So I think this one's going to do pretty well. The first one won 6 Academy Awards, so don't tell me the second one can't do as well, or if not better than that one. Number 5. I might have this one pretty high, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I truly do believe it's going to get nominated for Best Picture, and it should. It is strictly one of the best movies of the year, has one of the best storylines of the year. Now, I know you might be thinking Part 1 kind of left on a not-so-good note for a lot of people. That is one of the criticisms. Is the Academy going to go for an animated movie, for Best Picture? It shouldn't be looked at it like that, but the Academy kind of does not like to recognize animation in the Best Picture category and just likes to stick it in the animation category. However, every now and then you have a film that can just transcend that, and I think Spider-Verse here is an example of that. There's a huge movement behind it, and I think it's going to do well, hopefully in the Oscars here, and I think Best Picture is going to be one of their biggest nominations, for sure. Coming in at number 6, we have The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti's in that one. I think it's going to do pretty well for the Oscars, actually. I think it's going to get a couple nominations. It looks like it's shot back in the 80s or whatever it is. And I think it's going to just have that kind of artistic feel to it, which Academy members are going to gravitate towards, which I think will help it get some of its nominations here in the coming following categories. But I think it will also get recognized in Best Picture as well. And then this bottom three is kind of a mixed bag for me. You might notice I have Academy of the Fall, which is kind of the international film slot, I would say, in this Best Picture category. Over the past couple of years, we have seen the Academy almost always nominate a foreign film in Best Picture, as well as sometimes even in Best Director as well. And I think Academy of the Fall is taking that slot at this year's Academy Awards. That's why I think it's getting in there, not just because it's an international film. I've heard great things about it, but I think it's kind of getting that international slot. And then we have Poor Things and Barbie. Here's why I put Barbie at 10. Warner Brothers, and you can see down below, at 11 I have The Color Purple, which is also Warner Brothers. It's going to be very interesting, and it's very difficult for me, for Warner Brothers, one studio, to get 3 films in the Best Picture category. I don't know if they're going to put all their campaigning towards, all 3 or only focus on 2. And I have Barbie at the bottom there because originally I had The Color Purple in there. It's a musical. There's great things already about the film. And people, I think that one's more of an artistic Academy film than Barbie is. However, I have Barbie in there at 10 because I think Barbie and Color Purple could switch potentially. But because of the buzz that Barbie has generated, it's over $1 billion already. It's crossed all these benchmarks. I really think that has catapulted into the 10th slot. I'm going to leave it there right now. But I just think with all of the push this film is getting, with all the support behind it, I think that's going to be enough for Academy voters to be like, all right, we got to recognize this one for the highest award of the night. Let's put it in Best Picture as a nomination. I don't think it has any shot at winning, but I think it might get that nomination based on its word of mouth. Not saying the film doesn't deserve it at all. I'm just saying this film is not a Academy movie, whereas I think The Color Purple is more tendering towards that audience of the Academy members. Poor Things is the new Yorgos Lanthimos film. He directed The Favorite, which was also kind of an Oscar favorite. It got a good amount of nominations, and I think it's going to do well here in Best Picture as well. So those are my 10. Like I said, Color Purple is in there possibly. Mastro, the one directed and starring Bradley Cooper. You saw how well his directorial debut went with A Star is Born. He was a producer on Joker. Not many people know that. He is great at behind the camera work, and he is great at getting the Academy to recognize his work, not only in front of the camera, but behind as well. So I think that film has a decent shot at getting Best Picture. I haven't heard the greatest things about the film, but still be on the lookout for that. Air, directed by Ben Affleck, one of my favorite movies of the year still. I think it's great. The story's brilliant. I think the screenplay is amazing. However, I'm not as confident as I was in Air as I was a couple months ago. We have The Zone of Interest as well, and we have The Killer on Netflix, starring Michael Fassbender. I think those are probably the top 5 right now, I would say, that have a chance of getting that 8th through 10th slot, if my other ones in there don't really work out. But yeah, that's how I see Best Picture shaping up. All right, let's move on into Best Actress. All right, this is a category where I think The Color Purple is going to shine pretty well. However, we still don't even know if The Color Purple is coming out. That was one of my caveats too, of it not being in Best Picture right away. But we're going to go with it that it is. And of course, some of these films will not be coming out because of the strikes and having actors to promote the film. But anyway, number 1, we have Fantasia Barrano, I believe, from The Color Purple. I think she is she's the main lead in this. Musical, singing, acting, dramatic acting, crying. If you do all that, early on, you're pretty much a good lock-in for probably number 1. And that's why I have her in here as well. Sandra Hüller, though, from Academy of the Fall, I have heard great things about her career, and I do think that she's going to shine really well in this film for the Academy to recognize her in. And I think that's why she's number 2. However, I kind of do have her on the heels of Fantasia as well. I think those two are going to kind of be the double header here. I do have Greta Lee from Past Lives. I have heard fantastic things about her performance. I think that's going to get her a nomination. Natalie Portman, she's Natalie Portman. I mean, she's brilliant. She's an amazing actress. I do think, when she has a film coming out, you always have to put her in contention for the award, which is why I have her in here. And Emma Stone in here for Poor Things. I think Poor Things is going to do well. Now, it could be a little too weird of a movie for the Academy, but you can make the argument of, The Shape of Water, Everything Everywhere All at Once was kind of, even a far-out movie there. It wasn't the original, the classic thing the Academy goes for. So that's kind of what's helping my argument, Emma Stone here getting in for Poor Things. Also, she's just a fantastic actress. Of course, she won for La La Land, one of my favorite movies of all time. But I have her getting in here over Carey Mulligan for Maestro. Be on the lookout for Carey Mulligan, because of all things I'm hearing. A lot of people are putting her in above Emma Stone. I just happen to think Emma Stone would probably shine more in the Poor Things movie, as she's the lead, and I think Carey Mulligan, she's the leading actress, but I think Bradley Cooper is going to be focused on that movie, for that movie as a whole, which could overshadow her potentially. Kate Winslet in here, Margot Robbie for Barbie. I would put Margot Robbie at 5 if it wasn't a comical performance. I know she has great dramatic moments in there as well, and she was so good in this movie. But I think a lot of people, more so for the acting, are talking about Ryan Gosling, which is going to overshadow her, I think. And I don't think they're going to nominate a more comedic performance in Best Actress. I just see that as a little bit harder of a feat to do, especially when you have, these 7 that I think are above her and chances of her getting in. Not to say she did a bad job, because she didn't, but I don't see her getting in for this one, although she's going to get a Golden Globe nomination for Best Comedic Actress of the year. Then we have Jessica Lange and Annette Bening in here, I think, are the other ones who have a chance in this award, although you can see they are 9 and 10. But hey, it's early on. Those can switch all throughout the year here. And of course, we have a Fall Film Fest coming up, which could also put a huge damper in my predictions, and a huge change-up as well could occur. So that's Best Actress. Moving on. Best Actor. You can see I have my guy Cillian Murphy in here as the leading for Best Actor. Here's my caveat on this one. If we look at the list, we haven't seen the other 4 performances yet of the year. Now, Cillian Murphy, I think, is fantastic in Oppenheimer. However, his performance is very subtle. It's a quiet performance. And usually when you have a more showy, transformative performance, you get ahead of Best Actor. And we look at my number 2, which is Bradley Cooper. He's going to be layered in a ton of makeup and prosthetics. That helps. That just helps you get out in front of everybody in the categories here. And I think that is where I have possibly Bradley Cooper overtaking Cillian when I actually see the movie and when buzz starts to generate. Also, Best Actor and Best Makeup also often coincide together. Whoever wins that wins the award. And what I mean by that is, because I said prosthetic performances often get the W here in the category, you're going to be nominated for Best Makeup, which I think Bradley Cooper's Maestro will be, and I think it's going to win. So because I think it's going to win that award, that is why Bradley Cooper could quite possibly win the Best Actor, because they often coincide. Like last year, Brendan Fraser won Best Actor. Who won Best Makeup? The Whale. Even though I thought that's the year it was going to split and go to Elvis, but, it happens. So it could always break this year. However, it's a very strong tradition that those two go together. So be on the lookout for Bradley Cooper. We got Leonardo DiCaprio in Killers of the Flower Moon. It's Leonardo DiCaprio. He gets a lot of nominations. However, I think this work, he's going to deserve it. Just from the trailers alone, he looks fantastic in this movie. Paul Giamatti as well for The Holdovers. Looks like a great performance for him as well. And Coleman Domingo for Rustin. I think it has a great shot of getting the nomination here. I do think he would be maybe 4th or 5th, but, anything can happen. But I do think the 2 that are in contention for this are Cillian Murphy and Bradley Cooper. Like I said, my only kind of hold back on Cillian Murphy, it's a very subtle, warm, quiet performance. Not that it's not powerful, because it is, but it's just more quiet than what the Academy tends to go for in this category. A huge surprise shakeup to this could be Barry Keoghan for Saltburn. It's a great thriller, and I think that he's going to shine brightly in that movie. Of course, he was nominated last year for The Banshees of Inisherin, so he's no stranger to the Academy. So be on the lookout for him to shake things up here. Kingsley Ben-Adir is playing Bob Marley in a biopic that almost gets you a nomination, so we'll see if that happens. Jeffrey Wright, Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon. Do not count out Joaquin Phoenix. He is Academy Award winner in this category, so never count him out. And then at number 10, I have Matt Damon for Air. A great performance, however, I don't think it's one the Academy is going to go for and nominate. I just kind of put him in here because I didn't know who else to put in at the 10th slot. Moving on into Best Director. This one I'm kind of going to breeze by because I think Christopher Nolan I think it's his time. With how big Oppenheimer is, granted, we haven't seen a lot of these other films, but Oppenheimer's big. You know, it's crossed over $500 million now at the box office, which I do think has a little bit of an impact in the Oscars. I just think this is his time. He is a fantastic filmmaker. He's never won. He's been nominated for Dunkirk. But I think this is the film that's going to get it for him. And he deserves it. If you've seen the film, it relies huge on direction. And I don't think there is another filmmaker that could bring this story to life and have it work as well as it did if it's not for Christopher Nolan. Second, I do have Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2. If you've seen Dune 1, you know why I have him at number 2. Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon. You just can't count out Scorsese. I don't think it's going to be anything like huge and special, but I think he's going to get in. I have Justine Triet for Anatomy of the Fall. If I mispronounce the name, I'm sorry. But like I said, over the past couple of years, international filmmakers have gotten one slot for Best Director. I think that's going to happen here. And I have Greta Gerwig in here for Barbie. I'm not going to lie, I love Barbie. However, I didn't have Greta Gerwig in here originally. And I don't know if I would if it wasn't for the hype that Barbie is getting. And Greta Gerwig has a lot of love, has a lot of support out there for fans. I think that might help. However, I'm not comfortable putting her in at number 5. I have her in there now, but I could see really any of these bottom 5 come in to get her out. I don't think the directing is a huge takeaway from the film. I know she put a lot of hard work and everything into the film. However, I don't take away direction when I see that film. So that's why I think she could be out, but I have her in there for now. I have Celine Song, Past Lives, could get in there. Jonathan Glazer, Emerald Fennell for Saltburn, I'm not going to lie. I think that might be the strongest one. I know I have her at 8, but I might have her at 6 because I think she might be the strongest one there. Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things, he was in there for The Favorite. He could get in there for this film as well. And then we have David Fincher for The Killer because it's David Fincher. Yeah. All right, so that's director. Best Supporting Actress, I have Lily Gladstone right now as the lead, overtaking the Color Purple ladies. Not anything against them. I feel like, just because I don't know if this film's coming out, it doesn't help me put them above other people. I think Lily Gladstone, though, is going to be a big shining star in Killers of the Flower Moon. And I think Danielle Brooks and Taraji P. Henson are great. I in fact, love Taraji P. Henson. I think she's a brilliant actress. I do think she has a good shot here, both of these ladies. However, if I were to pick one to possibly win above the other, I would pick Danielle Brooks. However, there's two people from one film. You always have the chance of canceling each other out, which is why I do have Lily Gladstone at 1, followed by Davine Joy Randolph and Rosamund Pike, both for Saltburn and The Holdovers, as you can see there. The one I have on the outs is Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer. I know some people are putting her in, some people are not feeling that her character was written well, and she did not get enough screen time, I don't think, to be getting a nomination in Oppenheimer. If you've seen the film, she does have that phenomenal scene in the third act, which all you need is one scene to get nominated. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. However, I'm not feeling compelled enough to put her in that 5th spot. Right behind her, I have Viola Davis for Air. When this came out, I said Viola Davis would get nominated. Now, I don't know. I think it's a good, great, powerful performance. I just don't think it's enough when you look at these 6 women above Viola Davis. Julianne Moore, May December. May December is going to be a film that's almost on the outs, but get in a couple of places. I think she's going to be great. Helen Bonham Carter and Jodie Foster are the other 2 I have on the outs as well. But be on the lookout for them. I mean, we haven't seen their films yet, so you never know. All right, moving on to Best Supporting Actor. Number 1, makes me happy to say, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. I really do think that he is going to get this nomination. He's going to get this win. I feel pretty confident, actually, about him winning this one. At number 2, though, I have Ryan Gosling for Barbie playing Ken. I don't know. I never thought I'd be able to say that. But hey, it's here. It's happening. He was phenomenal in the film, and people are talking about his performance non-stop. I definitely think that will help him get the nomination here. Some might even say it's going to help him get the win, but I just don't think the Academy is going to go for a more comedic performance over a powerful, great, dramatic performance by Robert Downey Jr. Coming in at number 3, we have Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon. We haven't seen the film yet, but from what I've heard from people who have seen it already, he is fantastic. And there's no doubt in my mind. I mean, it's Robert De Niro. Come on. I mean, I just think he's going to get that nomination. Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things and Coleman Domingo for The Color Purple are kind of ones I just threw in here based on name recognition and what I personally felt. I could be swayed after seeing, what people are thinking or what people are saying about these other films. You can see the other 5 I have listed there. One I do want to shout out is Jason Clarke for Oppenheimer. I know last category I just talked about canceling each other out if you're from the same movie. I don't think Jason Clarke's going to get nominated for Oppenheimer, but I just wanted to shout him out because his performance in that movie is fantastic. He blew me away. I didn't even know he was in the movie. I saw him, I was like, oh, that's Jason Clarke. I was scared of Jason Clarke at the end of this movie. I mean, he was phenomenal in Oppenheimer, so I wanted to shout that out. All right. Best Original Screenplay. This is where I think Past Lives is going to take the cake. As of now, you have The Holdovers, Anatomy of the Fall, Saltburn, and Air. I'm keeping Air in there. I do think it's a strong screenplay, and I think it's probably the best part of the movie. So be on the lookout for Air. It's kind of on the outs, but I'm going to put it in for now. But like I said, Past Lives, from all accounts, I wish I've seen this movie because it would help me more, feel more confident, I would say, in its wins. But I think this is one where I think it might be its only win, but I think this is where it has the best shot. The Holdovers as well. I don't know much about the film. I've seen the trailer. It doesn't personally excite me, but I'll watch it because I think it's going to be an Oscars favorite. And I think one of the strongest parts of it will be the screenplay. And then you have Anatomy of the Fall, Saltburn. I think Saltburn's going to be very, very good. I'm excited for that one. So, yeah. May, December, Mastro, Asteroid City, Napoleon. Don't doubt Napoleon. All right, people are. Don't doubt it. It's Ridley Scott. Keep it in the top 10 for all the categories I think you can. And then Rust for 10. So that's original screenplay. Kind of an easy one there for now. Best adapted screenplay, though, you got Killers of the Flower Moon and Oppenheimer, I think, are in contention. But yeah, Barbie. I think Barbie's at number 3 is actually pretty strong. I thought the script was great for the film. Of course, written by Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. But yeah, I think they did a fantastic job here, and I'm not surprised that it's in that top 5 or in that top 3, for a matter of fact. Then you got Dune Part 2 and The Zone of Interest. I would personally put Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in there. I think if it gets Best Picture, you can't just keep it in Best Picture and Best Animated Film. You have to give it something else. And I think it could be adapted screenplay. Like I said, I personally would. But this is still one of the bigger awards, and I think it's going to be hard for the Academy to put an animated film in multiple big awards. So that's why I'm leaving it out of adapted screenplay for now. But I think the screenplay is is a big, strong point of the movie. So don't count that one out, but I have Poor Things above it because it's Yorgos Lanthimos. I think that could rise above. The Favorite was in there. They loved it. So, be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I do think it's between Killers and Oppenheimer. I have Killers as the leading one right now. I think Oppenheimer is going to get a lot of awards, nominations, but I think it's going to get a lot of wins too. But Killers is the one that I think is going to get a lot of nominations and not a lot of wins. But I think this is where I could see a win happening for it. This and supporting actress. So, and those are possibly the only 2. So that's why I think Killers is going to get recognized here. But then after Across the Spider-Verse, we have The Killer, The Color Purple, and Next Goal Wins. Yeah, be on the lookout for those. But I don't think any of those have a chance of getting in the top 5. All right, that's adapted screenplay. Moved on to Best Cinematography here. I got Oppenheimer. Now, I would put Dune Part 2, because I do think that's personally just going to have the better cinematography. But they gave Dune Part 1, the award for Best Cinematography. And usually the Academy, if it is a sequel, Black Panther will kind of forever surprise the hell out of me from last year. But Dune Part 2, I just don't think it's going to be anything too new from Dune Part 1 in the cinematography. Not saying it's not going to be great, but I just don't think it's going to be different enough for the Academy to feel like, oh, we got to give it to Dune again. I think they're going to want something different, which is why I have Oppenheimer ahead of it. Followed by Killers of the Flower Moon, Mastro, and Poor Things. Like I said, Poor Things is in here a lot, so it's Mastro, but could change when we see the movie. And then you see my bottom 5 there as well. I'd say probably the best shot there. The Killer's good. Color Purple, it's a musical. Usually those do fairly well in the tech categories. And Napoleon as well by Ridley Scott. I think that's going to be kind of a dark horse this season. So be on the lookout. All right, best editing. This is going to Oppenheimer. I kind of feel confident about that one. I thought the way that the editing was done here in the film was very strong. I have Doom Part 2 here, but I think Oppenheimer is actually a good amount ahead of all these other films. Just because the editing almost feels like a main character in the movie because you have the editing between the time differences, the time jumps, I will say. And I think it worked very, very well in the film. And I think that's going to, just kind of take the cake in this one. And it's going to get best sound. And often best sound and best editing coincide. And actually, often, best editing and best picture coincide as well. That's what happened last year. And yeah, I just think that's happening here. So Oppenheimer is going to get the W for now. All right, best score. As you can see, Oppenheimer is also going to get the W here. Do not. This is where I think it could happen. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a fantastic score. It is brilliant. And here's my only thing against Oppenheimer. It's by Ludwig Göransson, who is fantastic. I love the guy. But he won already. So I don't know. And he won recently. I forget what the film is he won for. But he won recently. I don't know if the Academy is going to give it to him again so close together. It's frustrating how the Academy works with that because I do think the best person who did the work should get rewarded. But that's just not reality, and that's not what happens here. Not saying Across the Spider-Verse doesn't deserve it, but Oppenheimer to me is just the score is fantastic. But Across the Spider-Verse has a wonderful score, and I think it's going to get nominated here as well. Dune Part 2, though, is Hans Zimmer. I mean, the first one's brilliant. This one's going to be brilliant. Don't think it's going to be special enough to get the win. Killers of the Flower Moon, again, Best Picture usually kind of has a couple in the Best Score category. And then there's always one odd one out, and I think it's going to be Elemental by Thomas Newman here. I really liked Elemental. I love the movie. It's a great, fun animated film, but I also love the score. I think it's brilliant. Pixar puts out a lot of good scores in its film, and I think it's going to beat out John Williams, actually, for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny for that 5th spot. However, you can never be surprised. It's John Williams. They almost nominate him for everything. He's got like 53, 54 nominations, so this could be his 55th. So be on the lookout for him. The other ones that are listed are just options I have. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty confident in my top 5 here, with the top 3 probably being the 3 that will possibly win the award. All right. Production design. This is a walk in the park for me. It should go to Barbie, and I think it's going to go to Barbie. I mean, you see that design, the production design, and it blows you away. It blew you away when you saw the trailer. It blew you away when you saw the movie. There was a world shortage of pink, so you know why. Oppenheimer, again, with just how they created Los Alamos, but I don't think that's going to do as much as I think Barbie is. Poor Things is Yorgos Lanthimos. It's definitely a different type of vibe. So that's why I think it has a decent shot. Killers of the Flower Moon as well, recreating the time period, always gets you a nomination. In Dune Part 2, as it should. However, I do have the color purple on the outside looking in, because I wouldn't be surprised if it does get in here. Musical, like I said, Tech Awards does very well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put it on in here. But it's hard for me to pick which one they would take out. I think Poor Things might kind of be a shot in the dark for some people, but it's Yorgos Lanthimos, and it's a different feel. He always shoots in a different type of vibe, it feels like, and I think production design is a huge part of that, and I think people recognize that a good amount. But Asteroid City, Napoleon, Wonka, great. I think they're going to have great set designs. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of them get in, but it's hard for me to look at that top 5 and pick one that comes out. So we'll see what happens. All right, costume. Also, I think this is going to Barbie, as it should. However, number 2, I have part 2. I have Dune Part 2, followed by Killers of the Flower Moon, The Color Purple, and Napoleon. Napoleon, period piece, gonna get nomination. Color Purple, musical, mostly get nominated. Killers of the Flower Moon, probably mostly going to be suit and ties, but usually the Academy tends to nominate that for some reason. So, get in. Dune Part 2 is phenomenal. It's costuming, so I think that's an easy one. And Barbie, again, easy one, and I think it's going to be a win in contention with Dune 2 or possibly Napoleon. All right, and you see my bottom 5 there. Wonka could possibly get on in there, and Poor Things as well. All right, and that will do it, guys. Those are my nominations for the Oscars as of now, the August nominations that I think the Academy Awards are going to be doing come March. Let me know yours down below. If you like this type of video, I'm probably going to be doing these throughout the year now until nominations get announced. So let me know if you like the video, and if you want to see more content like this. I know my Oscars content last year did get a lot of likes, and you guys really did appreciate that. So I'm going to try to be putting in more effort into them this year because they're a lot of fun for me to do. So yeah, be on the lookout. Like I said, this upcoming week, I'm going to be uploading a podcast, probably about an hour long, with my friend CJ and I. We're going to be talking about the industry as a whole. We might even be talking about Oscars for a little bit. And we're going to talk about some major news stories and some, release shuffling that the studios have had to do. So we're going to be talking about all that and more. So be on the lookout for that video. And yeah, until the next one, guys, I'm Tyson. I'll catch you then.